In Splatoon, you take control of an Inkling and battle it out with your friends in many different modes. You have several basic moving options including shooting ink, throwing bombs, becoming a squid, and jumping. What? Look at those skinny legs. There's no way this man can jump that high. So naturally, I started to wonder, can you beat Splatoon 2 without jumping? The rules are simple. I am not allowed to press the B button during this run. Every other movement is allowed. With the rules all set, I started the run. Not in the first level though. I began in the tutorial of the game, where many challenge runs go to die. The tutorial was pretty easy until I arrived here. This is the game's introduction to jumping, and without jumping, I seem to be stuck. Fortunately, the walls surrounding this obstacle are inkable, so I just covered them in ink and swam around the obstacle. I then approached another scary-looking section, as the immediate walls are uninkable. But it turns out these walls are inkable, and if I swim up them and fall onto the platform, then I can swim through without pressing the B button at all. I flew through the rest of the tutorial and escaped to Inkopolis. Jump free, I can finally enter Tentacule Outpost and start the challenge. I easily made my way through the first 2 levels without any trouble. Then I entered level 3. Excuse me? Does that say dash and jump? I audibly groaned when I read that title, and rightfully so, as this level is a nightmare. When you first start the level, you go over a dash pad and are immediately expected to jump. I was stuck, for a while at least. I was inking everything in sight when I realized I could get on these outer fences by swimming onto them in squid form. From there, I realized that the outside walls are inkable. I first tried falling off, inking the walls, and then changing into squid form to try and catch myself, but that didn't work as I was just too slow. After fiddling around for a while though, I found out that if you inch your character until he's just about to fall off the edge, and then shoot at a good angle, you can ink the wall in front of you and below you without jumping off. The problem is I kept falling off the edge. Even when I got a good angle, the bullets I was shooting would sometimes nudge me off the edge anyways. But this strategy worked, and after inking the wall, I could start swimming on the ledge and make my way up to a higher platform. I discovered that it was actually easier to get up on the right side and eventually managed to get up onto the second platform. And then I realized that I have to go up here not once more, but 2 more times. The second time that I had to perform this trick was actually not that bad. I never really failed it, but it did get me a couple of times. The third time, on the other hand, was torture. The 2 walls that I had to swim up are connected by that tiny sliver, and I need to swim through that. Plus, I only have a chance to perform this once I do the previous 2 tricks in a row. After more than an hour of grinding this, I finally got all 3 of these and was able to move on to the rest of the level. It unfortunately did not get any easier. It actually became impossible. Immediately after the checkpoint, I'm greeted with this. The walls on the outside can no longer be inked, and just swimming or walking off the edge doesn't grant me enough distance to clear the gap. So I genuinely believe this to be impossible. But I didn't want to scrap this idea, so instead this will become a minimum jump run. I take my first jump and move on. This horror show of a level isn't over though. I'm forced to jump again, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not a jump Jeffrey, I didn't press the B button, but 4 times. I'm out. It took 4 horrible, awful jumps, but I can now fight the first boss. The boss guarding the first world is an oven. The first phase, it's easy. The second phase, not bad. The third phase, you ask. Living hell. His attacks aren't difficult at all. I'm in no danger of dying whatsoever, but I can't get up to damage him. In the second phase, he gained a little bit of armor, but I was still able to ink the second tier of bread and climb up. Now, the bread has armor, and I'm just far enough away that I can't get up. Why, Nintendo? I get you invented the B button for a reason, but come on. With my hands tied behind my back, I'm forced to add another lousy jump to the count before finishing the boss off and moving on to World 2, Suction Cup Lookout. At this point in the run, I don't just have to worry about jumping inside levels. I now also have to worry about getting to the levels without jumping. I start off with level 4. I have to jump once to get on this platform and again to get across this gap. That's 2 jumps on the counter, and I haven't even gotten into the level yet. Now that I'm in the level, I'm not out of the clear yet. I coasted my way through the first part of the level. This is the first time I get to use the splat roller, and one of its main mechanics is running across the ground. So jumping, thankfully, isn't too prevalent. But then I got to this part. Okay, I can just swim across it. But then I got here. And I can just swim across it. And then we have this third gap, and I can just swim over it. I mean, I'm not great at Splatoon, so we can just give it one more go. Besides that minor mishap, I reached the end of the level and headed over to level 5. I did these levels out of order, by the way, so that's why you can see levels that I haven't discussed already unlocked. Just thought I'd clear that up. Moving on to level 5, I found that it seems to require 3 jumps to get to. 2 for these 2 steps, and 1 to get across this gap. But while messing around, I found a solution for the first 2 jumps. Like in level 3, the side of these platforms are inkable, and if I land in them, then I can swim to the top step. But this still leaves a jump across the gap. So I messed around a bit more and found out that the outer wall down here is also inkable. And by inking that, I'm able to bypass all 3 jumps and reach level 5 jumpless. This trend continued throughout the level where I encountered 0 roadblocks. Level 6 is not so kind. Just to get into this level, I needed to jump onto this platform. I thought I would need another to get across here, but I can just barely make it over by swimming off the edge. The actual level is trivial, as all vertical movement is done by shooting these lantern things instead of jumping. Level 7 might be the easiest level to get to in this world, but it was one of the most infuriating levels to complete. First, I have this section. It looks pretty normal. You ride the squeegees and just walk off it. Okay, you just swim off it. This ledge is just barely tall enough that you have to jump to clear it. Then I have these 2 unavoidable jumps, but at least I can pick up the Sardinium. It's right in that box, and I can just, no, that's fine. I don't want it. What I did want was another jump. 4 jumps on the counter, and I'm out. Both levels 8 and 9 can be reached and completed jumpless, so I quickly moved on to fighting the boss. Octo Samurai is annoying to fight because I'm forced to use the worst weapon for the job. I know, hot and original takes every day of the week. But I never needed a jump, so I made my way to World 3, Beaker's Depot, with no more jumps added to the count. First up on my agenda is level 10. I easily made my way to it without jumps and got to use the Hero Slosher for the first time. This level has a very cool concept and was actually one of my favorites during my casual playthrough. You are placed as a secret agent who has to sneak past these flying Octoseekers that will bash your face in if you get caught. You can hide in your ink, but the Octoseekers rain enemy ink which can reveal you. I made it through most of the level with ease until I got to here. I thought I would have to jump, but just swimming into this edge happened to bump me into the air, and I managed to get on the ledge without having to jump at all. Besides that little heart attack, I was able to complete this level with no jumps. Getting to level 11 requires 1 jump to get across this gap. The main gimmick in this level is these little cowards. They hold keys that are required to progress throughout the level, but instead of fighting you or trying to kill you, they just run away and drop a bomb behind them so it's hard to follow them. This normally isn't a jumpless roadblock until I got to this circle of doom. I easily took the bomber out, but I couldn't reach the key. Side note, I looked it up and apparently these things are called octolers, but that sounds really stupid, so I'm not going to say it. I took 1 jump to get on the platform and collect the key. There was another part that looked scary. I collected a key and can get back to the safe, but can't get onto the platform. There is this yellow and black bar that is uninkable and blocks me from walking up onto it. but the side of the wall is inkable, which let me reach the jump pad without pressing the B button once. I took one jump getting into level 12 and actually find a seemingly pretty easy level. I have bounce pads which give me all the vertical height I'll ever need. This level should be a cakewalk. 12 jumps for this level. Level 13 has the Gatling gun and starts off in the gutter. We're on a platform and I have to cross this gap. The other side is inkable, but if I swim off of the edge, I just barely don't make it, so I have to take a jump. I was stuck here for a while until I realized that I'm an idiot, and there was a grappling hook right there. The rest of the level was pretty boring and just contained 3 required jumps. Level 14 only had one jumpless roadblock, this area right here. But something else that happened was I was using a sniper. As I traversed the overworld, I found the sniper is most useful and usually switch it out before entering levels, as I suck doing any kind of combat with the sniper. But this time I forgot, and there was quite a lot of combat between me and the Octolings, and I struggled on this level. Once I got to level 15, it was an easily jumpless level. The problem is I have to get there. These poles are uninkable, so I have to take a jump here to get to the level. The boss for World 3 is a breeze, and I moved on to the Slimeskin Garrison. World 4 actually starts off super kind with a completely jumpless level 16. Level 17 required a jump to get up, but besides that, the only problem I had with the level was a lack of skill. The number of times I fell off was incredible, but I managed to make it through. This trend continues with level 18. The only time I had to jump was to just dismount this rail at the correct time. That's 3 levels and only 2 jumps. Level 19 seems to require 3 jumps to get to it. You have to jump on these pads and go through a whole ordeal. Fortunately, I don't have to do that. Instead, I dropped an airstrike worth of bombs on this platform. And then I could just teleport there. Normally, you're supposed to find a kettle and then drown it in ink. Once it's sufficiently waterlogged, it becomes a fast travel point for some reason. The thing is, you don't actually need to be at the kettle for this to happen. It still becomes a fast travel point even if you drown it from a distance. I found this out very late into the run, so I'm sure this could save a couple of jumps earlier on, but to test if I can activate the kettles, I need a whole new save file. And I'd need to play through the entire campaign all over again. So let's discover what's in level 19 instead. This level features the Hero Blaster for the first time, and it's actually a pretty cool level. You go through 3 different sections and get to see the advantages of using a blaster. Now, 2 of these levels are great. There's a bit of a jump scare in the middle section, but you can somehow just land in this ink and keep swimming. Mr. Fancy Pants, I'm on the left over here, is the one that I have a problem with. It's all going well in the level when I get here. Surely I can make this gap. It's tiny. It's minuscule. Nope. I have to take a jump to get across this. Once you complete all 3 of these sections, though, you make it to the final section of the level. You ride on the big squeeze to collect a key and open a box. It's a pretty simple concept, and I can just get on this boy and right on the key. Now I can walk onto this platform and... Thank you, Nintendo. 2 more jumps for this level. Level 20 requires 1 jump to get to it. I tried to swim off the edge towards both of the closest jump pads, but unfortunately I couldn't get close enough, so I took 1 jump to get on the first platform and then rode it all the way down. Level 20 itself followed suit, having 1 unavoidable jump smack dab in the middle. Level 21 has a jumpless path right to it, and no jumps required inside of it. With a simple snatch and grab of the Zapfish, I made my way to the final boss in Area 4. The Octo Shower. But I kind of missed the bus, and I have to walk all the way there. Right before the boss kettle, I'm expected to bounce through this gate, and I couldn't find a way around it. So I have to add 1 more jump to the counter before I enter the boss fight. Thankfully, the boss is a complete pushover, so it's the last jump I need in Area 4, and I can move on to Cephalon HQ, the final world. This area is immediately different because it not only has obstacles you have to dodge to find the levels, you have to ride these frisbee-looking platforms to get to the obstacles. Frisbees that just so happen to be a few pixels higher than our legs can handle. Once I got on the platforms, I could ride them to different levels, and from those levels get back on the platforms. But I needed 3 jumps to get on each platform. I actually start off jumpless with a very kind level 22. Then I have level 23. Getting to level 23 requires no jumps, just a mental fortress for you not to go insane. What you have to do to get up this wall is shoot all 3 of these extended things and then swim up them. Since you're on a timer and these things love to close, you're expected to mash B and fly up the wall. But I can't do that. So I had to swim up normally and gather these little splotches without ink that Nintendo thought they'd throw in there to just spice things up. Once I bobbed and weaved past these obstacles, I finally got to the top. I ran into another issue. I just get stuck half the time, and then I get flung off. With how many times I fell, I don't know how my character's knees aren't inverted. I was here for a solid 2 minutes before I got it, and then I died miserably and had to do it all over again. Level 23 is a rough one. I started out with this grind rail and immediately had to jump off of it. I then have another grind rail, and I expected to jump over this obstacle, but it doesn't instantly kill me, so setting down my controller was actually a great strategy. There's another section here where the game hints for me to jump between grind rails, but telling the game to shut its fat mouth is a great strategy once again. Alright, the jig is up. There are 3 unavoidable obstacles, so I clearly have to jump here. Oh, they go down in the perfect cycle to let me pass right through. I finally reached an actual roadblock at this section here. I can't damage tank because I have to move sideways, and running into the purple pillar just catapults me backwards. So I took my second jump in this level and moved on. Immediately after this section, I found a very scary section that looks like a lot of rail hopping. Fortunately, giving my squid a concussion is a great plan with no drawbacks because there's just safety rails below. I do have to take a third jump in this section as damage boosting doesn't quite have the desired effect, but after that jump, I'm home free. The end was a little bit scary, but I made it through. Getting to level 24 is quite easy without jumping, but the level itself is not. I immediately have to jump to clear this gap. It's just far enough away that swimming onto it doesn't quite work, so a jump is required. I thought history was going to repeat itself with this gap that looks very similar, but it wasn't the case. Immediately after, there's another problem. Not just one problem, though. Not even 2 problems. There are 3 required jumps here. If I could tweak all of these obstacles positions a pixel, I think that all these jumps would be gone, but here we are. Level 23 features moving platforms that I'm not able to maneuver between without jumping. This causes required jumps and careful planning to get the least number of them. There are also these weird metal bars that you have to jump over. With one jump, I can land on the bar, which lets me walk onto the next platform, which leads me directly into a checkpoint. After the checkpoint, I jump twice between platforms and once to get up onto this bar and into the Space Invaders looking situation. The rest of the level is thankfully easy and I can move on to level 26. Level 26 has 2 jumps. But that's not what I want to talk about in this level because they're both lame and dumb. What I do want to talk about is this rotating platform. The way I casually tackled this problem is by spamming the jump button so I didn't slide off the edge. But I unfortunately can't do that here. You wouldn't believe the number of times that I slid off of the edge or got launched off the edge by one of these bowling balls. It sucked. Getting to level 27 didn't require any jumps, just like all the other levels in this world. But it certainly wasn't easy. I first had to clear this gap. It's thankfully small enough that I could just swim across it. But then I approached these jump pads. I tried a couple of times and usually just got bounced into poison. But eventually I lined everything up perfectly and was able to make it into the level without jumping once. Level 27 is the final battle with the Octarians, and I washed the floor with them as usual without a single jump trying to trip me up. I now have one final boss to conquer. DJ Octavio. I started off the fight with a confidence because none of the other bosses posed a threat to my run. I wasn't immediately posed with jumps, but ran into a different hurdle. That hurdle being my lack of skill and lack of upgrades. I had been collecting eggs in Sardinium, but I just forgot to ever upgrade anything. This led to me getting absolutely clapped by Octavio and really confused because I remember this fight being really easy. I then got some advice and quickly upgraded my hero shot. I clapped DJ Octavio with my upgraded 9 all the way up to his last phase. When you first start fighting him, there isn't a big incentive to jump. You're on a flat battleground and mostly focus on dodging attacks. But when the last phase comes, you have to take the fight to the sky, and unfortunately jumps are required. Octavio has a 50-50 chance to throw something that you can boomerang back at him to hurt him, or an attack only avoidable by jumping. Fortunately, your shield respawns every 2 throws, so you can tank quite a lot of hits. My only other advice is to combine dodging something with jumping to the inner ring in one go, as you'll need to do this at the end, where an inner spiral forms you'll need to hop on. My personal best is 4, plus 1 more to get on the spiral down to DJ Octavio, so 5 in total. And with that, we've done it. The Splatoon 2 minimum jumps run is complete. In total, I jumped 63 times. That may not sound impressive, and it probably isn't, so feel free to try and get a better score. If you try this run, comment how low you got the score below. This video took me way too long to produce, so if you could subscribe and like, then I would greatly appreciate it. See you in the next one.